All right, guys. So we've seen the death of Queen Elizabeth II over the last few days. The country's in a period of national mourning. We've seen some people paying their respects. Queuing up to see the Queen lying in state. In fact, I heard a man flew from Minnesota and queued up for over 30 hours to see her.
That's insane.
It's crazy, right? But also, some people have been saying, actually, not my king. This is the time to think about moving away from the monarchy. So I thought we'd have the conversation. Now, what do you guys think when it comes to whether we still need a monarchy in today's age and when you think about stuff like that?
Well, here's my thing, right? I respect anyone who can do something for 70 years. And I understand she was a symbol for people, a constant, and all the rest of it. But one byproduct of her death is we can open this broader conversation of, do we need a monarchy? My opinion, no. Well, I think there's 30, 35 monarchies in the world. So many countries do just fine without them. I think I get it when we're in, Elizabethan times and they're put there by God and everyone believes and that they're better than the people of the city or whatever, or the country. But now we know that's not true.
Yeah.
I think, let's look forward. How else can we run the country?
I think we've moved forward in society now as we've dissolved, as I said before, religion and so much more. We can criticize these ideas and we can actually have an open discussion, but I think what people forget is the monarchy's been put, they were put there for a reason, and they ruled for such a long time, and they still had a place in this idea and this romance about British society and the colonialization that they did under the banner of them and so much more. A lot of people are going to find it hard to remove them and to remove the idea of a monarchy. Yeah. Because it means so much to other people. Remember, there's the tribe in Africa that they actually... Well, there's a tribe in Africa that they have a picture of Prince Charles and they believe that Prince Charles is essentially Jesus to them.
Really?
Which is quite terrifying of how far colonialism went. It was not only spiritual, it was mental, it had so many different facets. So I think the dissolvement of the monarchy will be good in some senses, but that means we've got to do a lot more work all across the former places that were previously colonized.
Yeah. I mean, one of the most forceful arguments I've always heard is that it is lovely, and I do think it is, to have a figure that is above politics for a certain reason. So you have someone who's not uber left, who's not uber right, that kind of exists above it all. And when your country goes through tough times, whether it's Brexit, whatever, all the tough times we've had, it's been good to have a figure that just isn't part of that you can kind of almost trust, whatever that word means, to know that they don't have a kind of partisan perspective on politics. Like I can see why that might be interesting. And when you look at America, it is interesting because the president is meant to be that figure. But of course, if you're a Democrat and Donald Trump invited you to the White House to get an award, I could see some Democrats be like, I'm not going.
Well, that's what Meghan
Whereas
Rapinoe
the Queen,
did.
you'd be like, I'll go. Like, it's the Queen.
Remember, that's what Meghan Rapinoe did. She refused to go to when the US female football team won, I think it was the Olympics or the World Cup. I can't remember which one it was. She refused to go because she didn't stand by Donald Trump's politics.
Wow.
And of course, we wouldn't have that here because the Queen is kind of separate to that.
Well, there's people that refuse OBEs and CBEs. That's true. So, and I know George the poet refused his one. Yeah. Benjamin Zephaniah did
there was
as well.
Conversations about Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton, but I think he took it.
He did, yeah. But I think there was a wide. I think whenever it's someone of that sort of background, the question of empire and
absolutely
is it a relic of imperialism? That whole conversation brought up.
But you know what it is? I think if people don't like the idea of imperialism and previous colonization and so much more, then we need to have conversations about what are we going to do to help where we are from, because we're continuing to contribute to an economy that essentially we detest in so many ways.
It's true.
But I've given us the privileges that we do have today.
Yeah, it's hard. The OBE thing is always difficult because it's like,
would you take an OBE?
Well, I mean, I've been asked this question a lot of times. I don't think I'm in consideration, which is quite good. So I don't have to answer it yet. But I think what is quite interesting is it is the highest civilian honor we have, unfortunately. Yeah. So it's the same thing as almost getting like a presidential award in America, where, that's something that's reserved for a tiny number of people and that says, hey, you've been working so hard, here's like recognition from like the highest whatever. So in the UK, it's a shame that we don't have anything else. And the prime ministerial office has been so debased, not least by some prime ministers that just left, that now if the prime minister gave you an award, it would be like, well, rather than like, this is like, I wouldn't cry if Boris Johnson, let's just call it a spade, if he invited me to 10 Downing Street to have a chat with me, I think I would go because out of respect and whatever, but I don't think I would cry and say what a zenith point of my life. I would be like, cool.
Yeah.
which is a shame. We
Yeah.
don't have that kind of upper strata of someone who's just above it all, which is what the Queen and what the royal family has been for so long.
But then we've got the Diana Awards. That's another award.
That's a really great award.
yeah.
But again, that's
Really
because
big
of
award.
Princess Diana's brand and
the
who she
image she
was, the
represents.
humanitarian.
But I think Diana was a lot more human in that
True.
sense. As I said, she shook people's hands without gloves on. There was small things that I think mattered to the people, and I think
COVID.
And even she was an outsider.
well, she did this before COVID.
I'm checking.
You see what I mean?
She was head of the game. She knew that there was going to be a period where you
Yeah,
could spread
clever.
close contact.
Yeah, there was that one picture of Queen in a mask like 10 years ago. So.
You see what I mean?
Was
But
there?
no, there wasn't.
Must have been a time traveler.
But even Diana was an outsider, and she
was an
and
outsider.
her image was kind of the royal of the people in a
Absolutely.
sense. So it's interesting that she was an outsider. But I think even with the OBE thing, it's literally order of the British Empire.
Would
no?
you take it?
I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Listen,
I wouldn't want to.
But the thing is, I feel like everyone keeps skirting the question.
But you have to, because
But
I don't
know what
want you to say something on a podcast from 10 years ago that later on when
you
you
know
do
what it is?
something, if
Yeah.
your mind has changed, you can't
Yeah.
change
Do you know what
that
it
mind
is?
these days.
I would take it because I understand the power it could have in society and the doors I could open with it. It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah,
mean
from a
that I
pragmatic
inherently,
point of view,
from
yeah.
a pragmatic point of
That
view,
makes sense.
Emotionally, I probably wouldn't feel anything towards it. But I
Yeah.
think it's so important to recognize, even if you don't want something, what can you take from it? What's the positives?
Yeah.
What's the benefits? So as you said, with the Queen dying now, what positives can we take? What conversations are we going to be able to
Yeah.
have? But will we really have those conversations?
Yeah, it's true.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And I think at the same time, even just with the OBE thing, last thing is, let's imagine we're in a position where we start talking about, the failings of like British history and how we can help other people other colonies or whatever. If you have an OBE, it almost seems a bit hypocritical.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's like, yeah.
No, it's why it's a conscious vote, right?
Yeah.
You have to sit down and really weigh it up. It's why I think
Absolutely.
it's a bit odd when people are like, "I would never take one." No, I would. It's like, weigh it up. Like
Yeah.
when and I imagine George the poet, Benjamin Zephaniah, and all the other
They're
folks.
so against empire.
But this thing, but
Yeah.
again, it wouldn't work for them as well because of their brand. Like
Yeah,
as a
literally.
poet,
Fair point.
Why would you need an OBE?
Yeah.
Like a poet's name is like their export. You don't need an OBE next to it.
What?
So in another way, where if you're a business person or you're a community leader, that term OBE may make
And I
it
think-
easier to access funding.
Yeah.
May give you access to
There you go.
get money for your community.
And it
There's
has
a
a
lot
less
of
of a
credibility.
political
thing, it
leaning.
can be- yeah.
Yeah, and you don't care. You're just like, listen, I've been working hard in the trenches.
Yeah.
I've been recognized for it. This is the highest civilian honor we have. It is what it is. But also, there is this other thing I want to talk about, which I think is interesting because I think I'm seeing journalists kind of cover this. And it's essentially, something bad happened in the past, which was empire. I think for the most part, most people agree with that. Some people are still like, oh, it was great. We liberated them.
Well,
but whatever.
yeah.
Most people agree. I think that
Yeah.
it was a bad time. Is it ever okay to rebrand or try to, as you said, take something good out of something bad, which is what the Commonwealth is. The Commonwealth is the empire rebranded. We all know that. And rather than hard power, it's now a system of soft power and consent, so to speak, is what they would say. The question is that what's going to happen when the monarchy moving forward is that we kind of slowly twist and turn and become will they become like celebrities basically, almost like an Oprah where it's like,
Well, they are like that. If you went to
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you saw recently when they went to Barbados, the way they roll out the red carpet for them. When they
Yeah.
go to some parts of Africa, they roll out the red carpet for them. They already have that celebrity status.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, because of the Caribbean and a whole,
but they still have constitutional responsibilities.
Yeah, and
My
they
point
have-
is,
and
would
they
you,
have wealth,
would you
land,
ever
power.
would you ever get to a stage where we get rid of all of that and then we have them solely as figureheads?
Yeah,
where
truly a
they're
symbol.
just symbols.
Mate.
Because right now they still have power. There's the sovereign grant. We
Well,
give them money. There's all these.
the Queen
their
owns
own
a
land,
sixth of the land surface.
The Duchy of Lancaster. There's all these other things that makes them not just figureheads. When they say we're just symbols, is like very rich symbols, and they do good with some of the money and whatever. But my point is that the future to have them as celebrities?
Well, I think the key point is they do some good. I think for countries that have been previously colonized, because I don't like to use the word third world countries because I think it's reductive and it doesn't talk about history. But I think we've got to really have a conversation. I think Mia Motley is a great prime minister for Barbados. She's having a lot of these hard conversations. I'm not sure if you saw Tom Daly. He had a documentary on BBC Three where he went back to Jamaica and he essentially says to Jamaica,
Tom Daly the diver.
Yeah, Tom
went
Daly.
back.
He went. Well, no, of course not.
I was gonna say Tom Daly Jamaican.
Well, because if you think about Richard Kipling and the idea of civilizing these brown folk, he essentially went back and tried to liberalize and reverse colonize in some ways by asking Jamaicans, "Oh, why are you so homophobic? Why are you so against this and why are you so against that? Whereas she explained it was your, it's colonization and the laws you brought to the country. So I think we can have these as celebrity statuses and symbols, but then that still speaks of something that's still a remnant.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, Garvey said you can hate the roots of a tree, but love. Garvey said you can hate the roots of the tree, but love the tree. And I think it's possible to take something good from a bad thing. Yeah, but at the same time,
I was wondering when will we get a Garvey quote, and then just
it has to at least
one. People without a history of their roots is like a tree. What is it? Without a history,
a person without knowledge of their history is
like a tree without roots.
Yeah,
that's good. Are we just doing tree quotes now?
All tree quotes.
Listen. Respect Garvey.
A small seed can become a giant tree.
That's my favorite. That was
everything that's big has small beginnings.
That's the
there you go.
What was your point?
My point was, if I can remember, was it's possible to take the good from something bad. But I think when it comes to issues of the monarchy, conceptually, there's so much wrong with it. I don't think that's possible.
But if the foundation is poisoned, how much? Do you know what I mean? Do we throw the baby out?
Poetry battles.
We need to stop. Okay, this is going way too far. Maybe it's a good time to end. What I was going to say is, what article about this period that's happening now that we're going through, people are struggling to articulate what it is. It's because it's hard. Like we haven't had to do this for 70 years, right? So what article hasn't been written yet that you'd like to see written about this period that the UK as a country is going through?
Free Lizzie from our conscience.
I need you to unpack that. If you like.
Free the idea of Queen Elizabeth from our conscience and free it from our colonial remnants. So free her. Just
okay, I'm hearing words. I don't know what you're saying.
So basically, what I'm trying to say is we need to get.
I'm hearing a lot of words that are really important, but I don't know what you're saying.
We need to get over the concept of the monarchy and remove Queen Elizabeth from our conscience and move forward, as you said, without the monarchy. If that is possible,
I didn't say that.
Well, no, I'm saying it. I'm saying it with chest.
Fair. That's fair. That's your perspective. What about you? What are you thinking?
I want to see an article arguing meticulously for why we need a monarchy. I personally don't think we need one, but I'd love to see like a proper comprehensive argument, which isn't the classic, oh well, they bring in some money from tourism, or they I mean, and they cost them what, $500 million a year to.
And you saw the cost 6.9 billion, million.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and the numbers always vary depending on where you look. So whatever it is, there's money going either way. But I want to see something a bit more
comprehensive,
philosophically speaking.
You know what's crazy as well? I actually think that's such a great point because it's literally the same issue with Scotland. So with the Scottish referendum and Scottish independence, I hate when people try to quench dissent, like, oh, no, it's not time for the referendum. No. I'm like, no, articulate a powerful and compelling reason for why Scotland should stay. Because so far it's like, if you leave, you'll be poor and you won't have money, and it's like, no, that's not a compelling reason. That's not going to win hearts and minds. And likewise, I think with monarchy, it's like, okay, cool. Any Republican or someone who goes, I don't think, everyone's like, oh no, you just don't know how governance works. And it's like, hold on a minute. Articulate a powerful, compelling, ethical reason why this thing that historically was a force for bad can now moving forward be a force for good. Like, articulate it, get people inspired, get I want to cry, get my eyes full of water because you're articulating something powerful. But it's like, no, let's not do that. They're bringing money, let's move on. And it's like, nah, give us the chat. Literally. Hey, thank you for taking time to watch that video. Here at the Commentators Network, we thrive on exposing you to different ideas. If you're someone who likes ideas, you like learning new things, hit the subscribe button now and turn on notifications so you're first to hear when we have a new video out.